Hello, Delancey here, Delancey from the future. This is editing Delancey. Welcome to the reading vlog from hell. The editing process from hell is probably the correct way to say it. I spent about a month working on this video and didn't realize that some clips got deleted until I sat down to edit it. So hence why I'm filming this intro now. The original intro got deleted, so this video is going to be a sort of video diary, just documenting my experience as I get into the subgenre, I guess you could call it, or aesthetic that is dark academia. Dark academia, if you haven't heard of it before, you probably have if you're in the book community, because I feel like dark academia is very trendy these days. So academia is a sort of aesthetic. I think the first time I came across it was through fashion. It's definitely a fashion style, and I think it is tapped as one of the trendy styles for fall 2020. I think I read that somewhere, maybe not. But it's essentially this passion and love for learning and for knowledge. It's the romanticizing of the act of learning. And you have light academia, which tend to be, if we're talking in a fashion sense, light colored palettes, pastels. And then you have dark academia. And as expected, the color palette for that is going to be grayscale, deep browns, earthy tones, as well as jewel tones. I think like mustard, emerald, ruby, like a deep ruby. But the academia aesthetic stretches far beyond fashion, right? So it seeps into books and movies as well. One of the biggest examples I always see with film for dark academia would be like the Dead Poets Society. For books, you hear things like Donna Tartt's The Secret History, as well as Frankenstein or Dracula. All of these stories, though they can vary quite a lot, there is the element of academia, the act of pursuing knowledge in all of them. Now, it's dark academia, right? So there's going to be a dark twist. There is a tragic undertone to these stories, whether it's murder, the death of a loved one, some deep existential crisis, or a monster that you created in your pursuit of knowledge that gets out on the loose and kills all of your friends and family. I mean, you get the picture, right? I've always really loved the academia aesthetic in fashion. I've always admired it from afar. And so the concept behind this video was to explore books that you would categorize as dark academia and see if they really vibe with me, see if this is something I want to continue reading in the future. So I picked 4 books, and the first one is Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. This is a YA novel. It takes place at a very prestigious boarding school. It's dual timeline, so we're jumping back and forth between the past and present. In the present, we have our main character, Stevie, who is a true crime buff. That is her thing. She is like the modern day Sherlock Holmes, and her first assignment upon coming to this prestigious boarding school is to solve the grand cold case that surrounds this school and has haunted it for decades. So in present day, Stevie is trying to crack this cold case, and then throughout the novel, we are getting flashbacks to the 1930s when the school was first founded, when this kidnapping / murder case occurred, and it's mostly in epistolary form, and slowly but surely we are putting the pieces together along with Stevie. The second book on my list is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. Leigh Bardugo is such a popular author, definitely here in the online space, but just in general, she is so successful, and it has been a goal of mine this year to read something by her, and I finally have gotten around to it. It's the story of a girl who goes to Yale, and she becomes involved with the secret societies there. There's dark magic. I believe there's ghosts involved. It just sounded like a spooky good time. Third, we have Bunny by Mona Awad. This is a dark academia novel that is centered around a cult, and apparently it takes female friendships to the extreme, and I heard it's really wacky, and I had to pick it up. And finally, we have If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. This is a book about theater students who get involved in a murder case, and I am a theater student myself, so I had to pick it up, and I've heard really good things about it, especially over on Goodreads. A lot of booktubers that I'm friends with really enjoyed this one, so naturally I had to check it out. I did my best to piece everything together. It's quite a journey, so I hope you enjoy. Hey you guys, I thought I would check in. I am on page 329 of Truly Devious, so I am less than 100 pages from finishing. Where we're kind of at right now in the story is Stevie really enjoys her time at Ellingham. She has made a lot of friends. She really enjoys her classes. But there has been a tragic incident that has happened on campus, and Stevie, her classmates, and the faculty are trying to figure out what was the cause of this incident, and Stevie can't help but wonder, and she's trying to piece together whether this incident is somehow related to the original Ellingham case, even though it happened years and years ago. Is there somehow a relation between the two? There's also a little bit of romance going on, which I have really enjoyed. I'm not entirely sure where this relationship is going to go, and I can't help but wonder if this significant other, if it's really a romance, or if this significant other is actually tied into the tragic incident and that's gonna somehow be a twist in this story. I'm not sure. I did also take some notes. Oh, okay, so something I really connected with was that Stevie lives with some pretty powerful and crippling anxiety. Now, I have not experienced anxiety at the same level that she does, but I have experienced anxiety in the past, and there were certain lines throughout this book that just really resonated with me. On page 188, so Stevie has just woken up after a really long and difficult night where she had a really bad panic attack. Stevie went outside. The morning was fresh and bright, big blue skies and shaggy happy clouds blowing over the mountains. It was the kind of morning that mocked the fear of the night before. This kind of pleasantness almost made it worse. How could she be anxious when everything was so cheerful? Specifically the line where it was the kind of morning that mocked the fear of the night before, I have had that exact thought so many times before, like the next morning after having a really rough night of worrying, panicking, of having kind of like mini anxiety attacks. So I don't know, I just thought that was really cool, and there are definitely a handful of lines throughout this book, specifically in relation to Stevie's anxiety, that I just really connected with, so it was really cool. In terms of favorite characters, I do really like Stevie. I think she's a really fun protagonist. She has a really fun train of thought to read about. I also really like her friend Nate, who is the young published writer. It's a friend of Stevie's, and he's kind of like Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh. He's really grumpy and salty and sassy, but he's really funny, he's really witty, and Stevie refers to him as her friendly little rain cloud, which I just think is so cute and such an accurate way of describing someone. I think we all know, or at least have seen in media, depictions of people who are like friendly little rain clouds. So I'm really enjoying this series, and like I said, tonight I'm going to try and finish it, and I'll let you guys know what I think. Alright, hello you guys. It is around 8 p.m. now, and I am finally finished with Truly Devious. I'm going to give this 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. This is a really fun YA mystery novel. I did not see a lot of the twists and turns that happened at the end, and the cliffhanger was honestly offensive, and I couldn't imagine having to wait a whole year for the second book, so I think I'm definitely going to continue with this series and place my hold tonight on the second book because it was that good. I like that there was a sense of conclusion for some things with this first book, but there are so many things that are still left unanswered, and I truly have no idea where the story is going. I definitely think this is a great book for the fall season. I also would classify this as dark academia, but it's like soft dark academia, right? So if you're trying to ease yourself into the aesthetic or book genre, I guess you could call it, I think this is a really good starting place. My favorite character is still going to be Nate, even more so than Stevie. I think Nate is so funny, and he gets really good by the end of this book, and I think in a way, if Stevie is like Sherlock Holmes, then I would liken Nate to like her Watson, but a much more grumpier, saltier Watson. He was awesome. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about the romance. I'm not sure what purpose it serves or where it's going to take us. Maybe it'll make more sense in future books, but I don't know, the romance is a little random. That's how I felt, at least by the end of this book. So that's going to do it for the first book in this video. Great start. I think I picked well with this one, and now we're gonna move on to the second book in this TBR. So I think what I'm gonna do is pick up Ninth House next by Leigh Bardugo, and I am so excited for this because I actually think I have not read anything by Leigh Bardugo. Ooh. Yeah, I think this is my first book by her that I will ever read. Obviously, I hear about Leigh Bardugo all the time, and I've heard mixed things about Ninth House, but the premise of this book sounds so interesting, and coming off of Truly Devious, I'm feeling good, so I think I'm gonna dive into this one next. Maybe get in a chapter or two, we'll see, and yeah, I don't know. Hi, Potato Delancey here. I just wanted to give a quick shout out to all of my Bookstagram followers who were so kind as to slide into my DMs when I posted a picture of Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo, and I said I almost hit myself in the face. I said I was gonna start this, and this was my first book by Leigh Bardugo, and I had so many people message me like instantaneously saying like, oh my god, I love Leigh Bardugo, I'm so excited for you, but also like, wow, either like, oh, I'm so sorry that this is the first book that you're reading. Other people are like, oh wow, this is really dark, so just like buckle up. And then other people were like, why would you pick this as your first book? I don't know, I just loved that reaction. That was so great. So shout out to all of you guys. I don't know what I'm getting myself into, but I already said I was gonna read this, so it's too late. I have to do it. Yeah, okay. Hi guys, I am halfway through Ninth House. I think I'm on page 219, so I'm a little over halfway. I wanted to read a big chunk of this before I shared my thoughts with you guys. I have my nifty little sticky note that I've been writing my thoughts down on. So this book takes place at Yale University, and like any university, there are sororities and fraternities, but there are also secret societies that not a lot of people know about, and they refer to these secret societies as the 8 houses of the Veil. I think that's the proper term. And these secret societies, you have to be tapped for them. It's very exclusive. And these societies engage in dark magic and rituals and the occult, and it's very like hush hush. Not too long ago, these 8 houses came together and created a 9th house, which I believe is called Leigh. I'm gonna just slightly mispronounce everything in this book. And Leigh is in charge of monitoring the 8 ancient houses and making sure they are following regulations and standards and making sure there are no accidents while these young college students engage in dark magic. And the story is primarily following this girl named Galaxy Stern. She goes by Alex. And Alex has a very rough past. I won't say too much for the sake of giving away spoilers, but she eventually is scouted by the 9th house, and the dean comes to visit her and offers her a spot at Yale University if she will serve as a member of Leigh House. Alex has a particularly special gift that would be a great asset to Leigh. Moving on to my notes, this book is really dark, and thank you to everyone who reached out to me on Instagram to kind of give me a warning. I did really appreciate that. Keep in mind, this is an adult fantasy novel, not a YA fantasy novel, and I think it might be easy to forget that given that Leigh Bardugo has written a lot of YA fantasy in the past. There is definitely a huge difference here. So yeah, it's very different, it's really heavy, but I actually kind of love it. Like, I love this book. I've been enjoying it so much, and I'm surprised. Just have really enjoyed this. This has been so much fun. I just think it's right up my alley. I don't know, it just really vibes with me. I've always really liked academia, dark or light academia from afar as like a fashion trend, as an aesthetic, and I think it's really cool to be experimenting with this subgenre now, and I just think it really, I don't know, it just vibes with me. I do understand why a lot of people may not have enjoyed the book. For one, I think this book is centered around atmosphere and world building, and that's it. There's not much of a plot. I mean, there is, but the plot is really slow. And unless you love the setting and you love the magic system and you don't mind all the violence, then I could see where the book is gonna be kind of a turnoff for you. I feel like this world is so vast and so interesting. I mean, the societies alone, I feel like you could write a huge novel for each society. They're so fascinating, and I just wanna know more about people and characters in each of these societies. And right now, the societies and the big players within these societies are just kind of backdrop to the story. We may meet certain characters here and there, but they're only part of passing conversations. Like, I'm not getting any depth about the societies, and that is where so much of my interest is. Granted, we are learning a lot. Like, we are getting an in-depth profile about 2 of the 3 like highlighted characters within this book. But yeah, I don't know, I love this book. I'm so impressed. And this is my first Leigh Bardugo book. Can't even imagine what the Six of Crows duology is going to be like when I finally read that. I also think it's really cool that she went to Yale University. Like, I did not realize that, and I was reading her bio and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then I also found out that one of Steve's family members actually went to Yale as well. And I was like, oh my God, like, I'm reading about Yale. A different kind of Yale, but still, nevertheless. I will share my final thoughts with you guys, let you know what I think of the second half. Okay, Hi, you guys. I just wanted to check in real quick because my chest is like so tight. Like I'm having a visceral reaction to this book. I'm currently on page like 298, and I just read the scenes that describe Alex's past. We finally get insight into what her story is and what her life was like before she ended up at Yale and working with Leigh. And oh my God, the flashback was insane. Like, I think it was so well written, but I honestly was feeling so much fear and anger, and I was like spooked out of my mind. Like it was amazing. Like I was gonna wait to do an update till like after I finished this book, but I just feel like this experience was so crazy that I had to update you guys right now. But I just have to say that this book is so heavy. Like to read this book is definitely a choice, but if you can manage to get through it and the content doesn't bother you, I think it's awesome. I don't know, I really like it. Like I hate it, but I also love it, and I hate that I love it, and I also love that I hate it. Like I have a very weird relationship with this book. I gotta say Alex's story is crazy, and I really like her as an anti-hero. I root for her, but I also am kind of scared of her at the same time. And God, I feel for her so much, and like everything she's gone through and what she must experience. And I don't know, I'm just like filled with so much emotion right now. This book is insane, and I just think it's so well written. I don't know, Leigh Bardugo is awesome. If this doesn't convince me to read Six of Crows, I don't know what will. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, I'm gonna keep reading this, working my way through it. I'm at my parents' house, by the way. I'm just gonna hang out here for the weekend because Steve is away. Hence the early Christmas bed sheets. Yeah, I'm just in the guest room right now. I don't know, just feel all the emotions. I'm kind of rambling now, but I just wanted to share that with you guys. This book is, it's a lot. Okay, hi. Hey everyone. Don't really know what's going on with my hair right now, but it's okay. I am supposed to give my final check-in for Ninth House right now, which I definitely will, but I first have to say that I think I just embarked on the most chaotic Monday morning that I've had in quite some time. It was just a morning, and so I don't buy myself Starbucks coffee often, but I was like, you know, a $5 pumpkin spice, what is this, a pumpkin cream cold brew was definitely worth it. So, not that anyone asked for that story, but I felt like I had to tell somebody. Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. I ended up loving this, no surprise with my other updates. I ended up giving this like 4.5, 5 stars. I was like right on the border. I felt like I still feel like I have to have this book kind of sit with me for a little while, but it's definitely a favorite, and I cannot wait for the second book. And I'm so disappointed that there hasn't been a date set yet for the second book, because I just want to know what happens so badly. It leaves off on such a great cliffhanger. It's a lot. So if you are someone who wants to be careful about the different kind of content they read, maybe you do have some things that are just like hard nose for you when it comes to your reading, definitely make sure you check out the content warning in this book first. It's also all about atmosphere in this book and world building. I feel like the plot, there's definitely a plot, and it definitely ties up. I mean, there's a cliffhanger at the end, but things definitely get tied up at the end of this first book, so it's not completely lacking of plot, but I just feel like it kind of takes a back seat to the world building and the atmosphere, and it's super slow. The pacing is just kind of weird. So I get it. I totally understand why people may have not enjoyed this book. But for me, I feel like it was just the perfect storm of just kind of subject matter and things that I love to read about, things that I just have a huge interest in. I love school settings, especially like New England, boarding school, private schools, collegiate universities. I automatically have a preference for those kinds of settings. And I love the occult, and I love ghost stories. I love secret society. That stuff has just always really interested me, which is weird because if you know me in real life, I'm like one of the softest human beings you'll ever meet. So it's kind of like a weird side to me that I think not a lot of people know about, but I love that kind of subject matter. I love to learn about it, love to read about it. This was definitely a favorite, and I'm so looking forward to future books by Leigh Bardugo. I'm definitely going to jump into, I can't remember what the name of the trilogy is, but definitely the duology for Six of Crows. So she's definitely on my radar now. So now that I have finished Ninth House, we are moving on to the third book in this TBR, which is going to be Bunny by Mona, I think Awad is how you pronounce her name. This is the cover, and I've heard people talk about this book on BookTube, but it's nowhere near as popular as Ninth House or Truly Devious, or even if we were villains. This is probably the book that is the least talked about, but when people have talked about this book, I've only heard good things about it. It's the shortest book on this TBR list, which is kind of nice, and I have the audiobook, so I hope to zoom through this, and I will let you guys know what I think. So here we go. Hello, we are halfway through Bunny, and this is the weirdest book I think I have ever read in my entire reading career. I got my little sticky note here with my notes, so let's get right on into it. So we are reading from the perspective of Samantha, who is this grad student in like an English MFA program. She's like a creative writing student at this very prestigious university that's very like Ivy League-esque. And in her program, there is this group of 4 girls, and they all call each other Bunny, and they're very close friends, and they are so close and so lovey-dovey. It's like, it honestly makes Samantha nauseous, and she loves to make fun of the bunnies, along with her friend Ava, who I think used to go to the school. She was an art student, but then she dropped out. And yeah, they feel like outsiders, but they kind of like take pride in being outsiders, and they love to talk trash about the bunnies. But it becomes pretty clear right off the bat when you start this book that although Samantha loves to make fun of them, she clearly secretly craves a sense of belonging with the bunnies. I think if anything, she is wildly intrigued by them and finds them really fascinating. And she ultimately falls into this friend group and becomes a bunny herself. And turns out these aren't just like close gal pals, they're actually part of a really weird, trippy cult. I'm not sure if I would call this like magical realism or fantasy. There's definitely some sort of like fantastical, magical things going on in this book, things that the bunnies do. But then again, I think about at like 25% of the way through this book, Samantha clearly gets drugged by the bunnies, and I think she's on drugs for the entirety of the book, and in a way she becomes an unreliable narrator. So a lot of the times I can't tell if I'm reading about something that is actually happening or if we are seeing through her, you know, psychedelic glasses, lenses. I don't know, like reality's being warped. And obsessive female friendship is one way to describe what is going on in this book, but I feel like even that is an understatement. In terms of favorite characters, Ava, Samantha's friend, is definitely one of my favorites. She reminds me of Janice from Mean Girls, if you've ever seen that movie. And then I also really like Jonah, who is this poetry student that clearly has a crush on Samantha, but she's not interested in him, and he keeps popping up, and he's such a sweetheart and like a little puppy, you know, and he's always helping her out. And I keep picturing him as Sean Astin, and the way he's described in the book is nothing like Sean Astin, but that is who I picture. And Sean Astin, he was like Samwise in Lord of the Rings. I feel like he always gets typecast as like the very lovable best friend, just good guy Sean Astin. So I really like Ava and I really like Jonah thus far. I don't know if there's gonna be like a big twist. Is there a mystery? Is there more magic involved? I just have no idea where this is going. So I do like it. I think it's a lot of fun. It's a fun ride. It is really good for like Halloween, fall vibes, definitely. Very creepy. So that's pretty much all I have to say. So far, so good. Definitely weird. Hi, good morning. I just finished Bunny at long last, and I have no idea what to think. This was the weirdest book I have ever read. That being said, it was really good. I can't decide if I like this or not. I'm trying to decipher what the big messages were behind this book. I think the message is imagination is good, and being really caught up in your brain as a writer is good, but you can't completely forget about the real world. I think that's the message here. Don't get me wrong, this is pretty good. I think this is well written. I mean, the last 50 pages were huge page turners for me. Like, I had to figure out how this was going to end, what was going to happen. I had no idea where it was going. I think in the beginning, it's really weird and in a way kind of off-putting, but in the second half of the book, things just get so twisted. I love the twist at the end. I'm still trying to process that. I honestly don't know. I also didn't realize that this is actually shelved as a horror novel, which makes sense now. I didn't realize that going in, and throughout this book I was like, wow, this is really violent and gory and really twisted and scary. And yeah, it's a horror novel. So the more you know now. Hindsight is always 20/20. I immediately jumped onto Goodreads to see what other people's thoughts were, because I was like, I can't be alone in being confused. And I think the general consensus among a lot of readers of this book is they were confused as well. Said that this is kind of like if Stephen King wrote Mean Girls, and I would definitely agree with that. Yeah, so that's that. I finished this book, and that leaves only one book left on this joyful TBR, and that is going to be If We Were Villains. I have the book right here. So this is the last book. We're gonna start this. This is about theater kids though, which I'm really excited about because I was a theater kid back in the day, so we'll see what I think. Ooh, my face is very oily today. Okay. All right, I am more than halfway through If We Were Villains, and I haven't taken that much time to update you guys just because I've been loving this so much. I've just been blowing through it. It's up there with Ninth House, where I'm not really sure which one I like better. This is a murder mystery story. We are jumping back and forth between timelines. It's a story of this theater troupe, this class of theater students that attend this arts conservatory. And as typical with very elite, bougie arts conservatories, the classes are very small. So with these characters, there are only 7 of them, I believe, in their graduating class, and they take all of their courses together. That's very common in that kind of an academic setting. One of their classmates ends up dead, and the rest of the book is about the remaining students trying to cope with that, as well as figure out what exactly happened. Now, I knew going into it that somebody was going to die, but I didn't know who, I didn't know how, and I was on the edge of my seat trying to figure it out. But I think above all that, the book is really unique because in a way, it's like a love letter to theater kids everywhere, specifically theater kids who have a special place in their heart for Shakespeare. I grew up doing theater. I did high school theater, I worked in community theater, and I did some Shakespeare plays myself. So I definitely connect with the book on that next level. And so if you are a theater kid out there and you have any ounce of interest in dark academia novels or in just murder mysteries or thrillers, I would highly recommend picking this up because I think it will really speak to you. And I haven't found another book that is quite like it, that is about Shakespeare students, Shakespearean actors. You know, it's really unique, it's really cool. I will definitely be finishing it by tomorrow night, so I'll let you know. Hello, I am back with a dilapidated bun on my head. I need to shower really badly, and I am back in the Christmas bedsheet room because it all comes full circle. I have finally finished If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio, and I ended up giving this 4 stars. I am very weary from this long journey of reading these kinds of books, so I feel like I don't have much of substance to really say, but I did really enjoy it. I think the book is beautifully written. There were tons of fantastic quotes throughout this, quotes that are directly from Shakespeare as well as from the author. I definitely was doing my fair share of highlighting and saving some of those quotes into my Goodreads account. I don't know if anyone else does that, but I love to save quotes over on Goodreads. It touched my heart as a theater kid. I think the only reason I didn't give it a 5 out of 5 stars was because I felt like the murderer was a little predictable, and a lot of the plot twists I saw coming from a mile away, but it's still a fantastic story. It's still great. I love the atmosphere, and I love the relationships between all of the cast members. I think it was very, very well written, definitely by somebody who has extensive experience in theater and working with fellow actors. So awesome. Absolutely no regrets. It was great. So with that being said, now that I have finished this gargantuan video, what have we learned from all of this? Will I continue reading dark academia? The answer is absolutely yes. In fact, I think it is one of my top favorite, I'm just gonna call it at this point, subgenres, up there with like paranormal fantasy, urban fantasy. I love dark academia. I'm definitely going to be reading more in the future. And I'm hoping that I will eventually tackle Donna Tartt's Secret History. I'm such a wimp though. I am so scared to pick that up. But I think I am ready, or close to being ready. It's definitely on my TBR now. I absolutely loved these books for the most part. I mean, all of them were really great experiences. Some of them were a little more disturbing and traumatic than others, but they were all lovely. So yeah, I hope you guys had a great time. I hope you maybe learned something yourselves. Let me know in the comments down below if you enjoy dark academia, if there is a particular book you would recommend to me that I pick up, because this is definitely up my alley. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're still here, if you watched the whole video, good on you. That's awesome. You're great. Thank you so much. It was definitely fun to make, but a bear to edit. But overall, wonderful experience. I'm so glad I did this, and I hope to do more in the future. Explore some more subgenres out there, right? Like it's good to expand your horizons. But anyways, thank you guys again for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!